Our former clerk, Karina Monge, is leaving us, and I say it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure because she is receiving her master's degree from Rhode Island College.
Wow.
And she's becoming an adjunct professor part-time at Rhode Island College. So we congratulate her on her great achievement. Also, with that, we're welcoming a new clerk, Samantha Australia. So we welcome her to the committee, and we'll relieve Nick of his duties very shortly. With that, we'll start our first item on the agenda, and that's the somebody changed it. Advice and consent of the appointment of Matthew D. Weldon, Vice Scott Jensen, for the Director of the Department of Labor and Training. Good afternoon, Matt. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for having me.
Oh, there you are with that. Thought it was Santa Claus in the picture over there.
He's a bit jollier than I am, but thank you.
Most of us remember you as you started, when I started up here at the State House, and you moved right along, and we're glad to hear that. But would you enlighten the committee of your escapades with the state?
Sure. First, I just want to say thank you to you and to the committee today for having me, and thank you to Governor McKee for putting his confidence and trust in me. This has been an incredible journey. My career began some 21 years ago in the Rhode Island Senate after I had the opportunity to serve as an intern for then Lieutenant Governor Charles Fogarty. I owe an awful lot to Charlie Fogarty. I've learned a lot from Charlie. He's been a remarkable public servant and has set such a great example that I hope to just live up to. But from that experience, I worked in the Senate for a number of years. I then went and ran a program in the Rhode Island Superior Court for about 6 years, and then had the chance to come back with Charlie Fogarty over to DLT about 10 years ago, and have been here for the last 3 administrations now. I am a public servant. I'm a career public servant. I'm someone who believes that the public should be treated with respect and dignity, that we are here to provide a service to them, to people from all walks of life, from every community in Rhode Island. We are here to serve their needs, and we should be responsive, we should be respectful, and we should be empathetic. These are values that I was taught as a young person by my parents, who led by example. They instilled in me a sense of community. They taught me what it was like to feel for other people and to make sure that everyone had the same opportunities in life. I've taken those values with me to my career. I've tried to filter everything I do at DLT through the lens of how it would impact our customers. And whether that is someone that is collecting unemployment insurance, someone that is pursuing a labor complaint because they feel like they were aggrieved, or someone looking for a new career opportunity, I like to make sure that I'm giving them each and every opportunity to be heard, to feel respected, and to get value out of their government. At DLT, under my leadership, that will certainly serve in that regard. Respect, empathy, and dignity will be the hallmark of the DLT in my time. And I appreciate very much the opportunity to be here today to answer any questions that you may have, and I ask you all for your support.
I will commend you, Matt. I know in my personal experience in dealing with you, every time a call was placed to you, you responded the minute. If I left a message, you picked up and you were there were no complaints from myself, or I believe some of the committee members that you're going to hear from shortly. With that, are there any committee? I see Senator Lombardi that raised his hand. Senator Lombardi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just echoing what you said, Matt, you just said that you're a public servant. You certainly are. You make our jobs as elected officials much easier because you present a direct line of communication for us anytime there's an issue. And during this pandemic, it was particularly troubling for a lot of people out there worrying about where their next paycheck was coming. You're always available by phone, and you get back to us, and you get back to the constituents. I want you to know that we up here really appreciate you, and I could wish you nothing but the best because you certainly deserve this. This has been a long time coming. Congratulations to you.
Are there any committee members that have questions or comments? Senator Lombardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Matt, I don't think they could have chose a better person than you. You've been there, you've been working tirelessly. Being in the construction business and working with you, you've made my job so much easier. You were always attentive to my needs, always return the calls, and I echo what Senator Lombardi and Chairman Chacon said. I wish you nothing but the best, and I know you'll be very successful at doing it. Good luck.
Thank you, Senator.
Someone, I'm looking, does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay, we have Majority Leader McCaffrey, who just joined us, I see. Good afternoon, Leader. Do you
Good
have,
afternoon, Chairman.
you have something you'd like to add to this?
No, just that over the years, I've been fortunate enough to work with Matt, and he's always been helpful and gets the answer to the questions that we ask, and that's one of the most important things that I feel is important in a director.
Okay, thank you. I see we have former Lieutenant Governor Charles Fogarty. Governor?
Mr. Chairman, thank
Yes.
you for this opportunity, members of the committee. It's good to see you all on Zoom, and I just want to acknowledge Senator Goodwin, at least I think she's listening in, and also my senator, Senator Dela Cruz. I'm here in strong support of Governor McKee's nomination of Matt Weldon as Director of Department of Labor and Training. And I want to commend the governor for his excellent selection. He's come in at a challenging time, but I think the governor's personnel appointments have not only been top-notch, but they'll be individuals who will serve this state well, and Matt Weldon, I think, is top among them. And I don't know whether it'll help or hurt him, but I've known Matt Weldon for 22 years. As he mentioned, he started as an intern in my office when I was lieutenant governor. I saw him move to the Senate, where he learned a lot of his good skills as a Senate employee. Later saw him go to the drug court, where he was an administrator, handling some very difficult situations, as you can imagine, and doing it not only with expertise, but with compassion. In 2011, I was nominated to be Director of Labor and Training at a pretty challenging time, not quite as challenging as now, but we had 11.5% unemployment. We had all sorts of challenging issues. And I was looking for some individuals to help me as I took over that new responsibility. I called up Matt, and I asked him if he was up for a challenge, and he indicated he was. He didn't have a lot of expertise in that area, but one thing you know about Matt is that he quickly made himself a subject matter expert in all areas. He was initially hired as a chief program development person, a senior leadership position, but in less than a year, he did such a stellar job that I promoted him to assistant director. He is familiar with literally every aspect of DLT, as he mentioned, being there for 10 years: budget, personnel, relationships with the union, management of buildings and grounds, workforce development programs, unemployment, TDI, you name it, he's done it. He successfully actually helped oversee the implementation of the family leave program a number of years ago. He's developed great partnership skills, working with our state partner agencies, with you in the General Assembly, as has been noted earlier, labor leaders of all backgrounds, public and private, the business community, and I think he's respected all around. As was mentioned also, he is a man of his word. He's going to tell you what can and can't be done, and that's sometimes rare today. Sometimes people tell you what you want to hear. Matt's going to tell you the straight scoop. He's going to tell you what can and can't be done, and if it's possible to help get to the point where that you want to go to, he's going to show you how to get there and to do it in the proper way. He is a man of integrity. He is a man with a strong work ethic, excellent negotiating skills, wonderful problem solvers, very innovative, and most importantly, he does have a commitment to public service. There are a lot of folks, you could say, that have similar skills, but you want to have somebody that has that commitment to public service. And I can think of no better person in the state of Rhode Island right now to take over as Director of Labor and Training than Matt Weldon. He was ready actually a number of years ago. I was pleased when my successor, Scott Jensen, kept Matt on after I became Director of Elderly Affairs. And Scott actually, in a sense, made Matt the Chief Operating Officer of DLT as he took on the Real Jobs program. So his experience and skills has, just increased over that time. And he's demonstrated, I think, an ability to be creative too in a challenging time. With the federal and state regulations that are required, he's able to think outside the box to get the job done for the constituencies, whether it's individuals trying to get unemployment, whether it's the business community seeking help, or labor organizations that need some assistance in properly overseeing implementation of labor laws. He's done it, and he's done it well. The DLT is a department that has a myriad of functions outside of the ones that most of the public knows. Matt knows every one of them, from weights and measures to elevator management to you name it, he knows how to do it. Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that I support his nomination wholeheartedly. I would say without reservation usually, but over the last year in this COVID situation, he's moved from kind of a General Grant look with that beard to a crazy Western cult leader. So perhaps he can move back in the direction of General Grant once he's confirmed as director and gets that increase in salary, which will allow him to buy a nice Gillette razor and look proper for his appearances. But Matt, you've done a wonderful job. You're a perfect fit for this position. I commend the governor, and I strongly urge the members of this committee to support his nomination.
Thank you, Governor. I believe, yes, I see it. We have our Majority Whip, Mary Ellen Goodwin here. Mary Ellen, would you like to say something?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just weigh in for a minute on behalf of Matt Weldon. I think he's one of the best state employees I've ever come across in my long tenure serving in office. He is amazing. He gets back to you. He answers constituents. Last night, I met one of his employees by accident who told me that he still comes into the morning, even though he's acting director, very, very early and starts answering claims and answering emails. I'm sure at this point in time he has people to do that, but that's just the kind of public servant and great guy Matt Weldon is. I just wish him all the best. I know he's going to do a fantastic job, and I just look forward to supporting him here and also on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I believe the last one before you go to our phone calls is Dale Venturini. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you I am absolutely honored to be part of this process. And here on behalf of Matt Weldon. I run a trade association for restaurants, hotels, and who was more hard hit during COVID, along with other industries. But I've been working with Matt for several years in his capacity as deputy director in particular. And we work on a lot of different topics, and I never had to go anywhere else but to call Matt to find out an answer. He was involved in almost everything that we ever worked on, and that was even pre-COVID. The thing is, even when we don't agree, I always want my own way, but he's so respectful, and he works hard to find, best solution to any of our challenges. He never leaves me with saying, I can't or no. It's like, let's try to figure this out, and let's try to figure out another way to make it work for all of us. During COVID, I think we all know how hard things were, particularly with UI claims, and we would get the calls, and sometimes hundreds of calls, and I felt Matt was a partner at all the time, handling some of it. He even got calls from me when I was pretty emotional on trying to get through this process with folks, because you would hear the stories that just absolutely broke your heart. And he literally himself sometimes would get through the process for us when he knew the backstory, but always got back to us. I mirror everything Governor Fogarty said. I was like, yes, I would say that. Yes, I would say that. All of the above. And I am looking forward, and I'm thrilled to continue my work with Matt. I already told him I had a question. He said, just call me right after this. And that's how it is, because he will take my calls early in the morning and even in the evening. And I appreciate that so much. And I represent 86,000 employees, and I feel proud to know that I can get answers for those people when they need it, and all of my employers as well. So Matt, congratulations. I'm honored and thrilled to be right here. I wish I was standing in person, but to be here with you. I miss all of you guys, by the way, but I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled this is for you. And I will tell you, I did know you. I figured it's okay since it already got started about the beard. I did know you without a gray beard. So I've noticed there's a lot of gray in that beard right now. And I know COVID did that to most. So congratulations, and I strongly, strongly support Matt Weldon as the director. Sometimes he always was there. He acted in that capacity in so many ways. So I appreciate you, and thank you.
Thank you for your input. Is there any committee members that have anything else to say before we go to the phone calls? No? We're ready. First, all set? First, we have Paul McDonald from Teamsters Local 251. Good afternoon, Mr. McDonald.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, my name is Paul McDonald, and I'm president also of the Providence Central Labor Council and legislative director for Teamsters Local 251. I would like to thank you all for this opportunity. It's not very often that I address the Senate committee on the occasion of a major governmental appointment, but this appointment, which needs the advice and consent of the Senate, is so vital to the working men and women of our state that I felt compelled to share my view of Matt Weldon. Business and labor deserves someone with a reputation of personal integrity and a professional resume, which demonstrates a record of excellence. Acting Director of Matt Weldon is held in the highest esteem, and he represents the highest level of performance in state government. Matt is what we call in the labor movement the go-to guy. His successful efforts as a tireless advocate for our state, as well as his administrative acumen, has not gone unnoticed, especially during the pandemic. Even more, in my opinion, significant than his achievements and reputation are Matt Weldon's personal qualities. Quite simply, Matt represents the highest standards of conduct for a public official, and if there's any area where honesty and integrity are indispensable, it's in state service. I've spent most of my adult life representing working men and women in the labor community and have made many friends in business, government, labor, and believe me, none have impressed me more than Matt Weldon. His dedication to his position has been nothing but phenomenal. I've seen that fellow work more hours than you could ever pay, and he's just a tireless worker. I believe that Matt's appointment will be widely applauded throughout our state, and I endorse his appointment with all the professional and personal enthusiasm that I can muster. Mr. Chairman, thank you for this opportunity, and I wish Matt Weldon all the best.
Thank you, Paul, for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Michael Sabatoni. Good afternoon, Michael Sabatoni. How are you?
Mr. Chairman, how are you, sir?
Very good.
Members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to call in and support my friend Matt Weldon for Director of Labor and Training. I've had the opportunity to work with Matt for a good 10 plus years or so on behalf of the men and women that I represent, not only in the building trades but in the laborers union, and say I couldn't find a fairer individual, more well respected, and I think one of the things I most appreciate about Matt's work ethic is his follow-up. When you come to him with an issue or a concern, his ability to get back to you in a timely manner no matter what the issue is, and his follow-up. And I'd just like to say that I am so pleased that the governor has put his name forth, and I hope he gets unanimous advice and consent from the Senate. You couldn't have a finer individual to lead this department. I'd also mention, coming off of the worst pandemic and the issues that we've had with unemployment, and unfortunately in my industry in construction, my men get unemployed from time to time, but even through the pandemic, just the work and the support and the leadership he has had shepherding us through this terrible pandemic has been second to none. So it's with that and many other reasons, the building trades and the laborers union, we support the appointment of Matt Weldon. I'd also just like to say in closing, from someone who has sported some variation of facial hair throughout my career, I just want him to keep his beard just the way that it is. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. I appreciate your consideration.
Are there any questions from the committee? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gregory Mancini from Build Rhode Island. Good afternoon, Mr. Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to speak on behalf of our organization, which is comprised of 4 different contractor associations and 16 different labor unions, in support of Matt Weldon. I heard much of the testimony, and I certainly cooperate everything that's said by him. I would also say I heard Matt's comments, and I want to attest to the accuracy of what he said. His dedication to the citizens, the workers, and quite frankly, the companies of our community are unmatched by anybody I've seen. So I won't belabor the point. I know a lot of people have spoken, and I certainly, and our organization certainly supports Matt's appointment to Director of Labor and Training. We'll do a great job for the citizens of Rhode Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Any questions from the committee? Okay, thank you. We have a letter of support from Beacon Mutual Insurance by Brian Spiro. A very glowing letter commending Matt for his work that he's done and encouraging the committee to move Matt's advice and consent forward. I believe that's all we have. Mr. Clerk, could you poll the committee, please? Yes. Do I have a motion from the committee members?
Mr. Chairman, I move the
Senator Lombardo.
Matt Weldon to be Director of Department of Labor and Training.
I would second.
Second.
Motion made by, seconded by Leader McCaffrey and Senator Sosnowski. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Being none, Mr. Clerk.
Chairman Chacon.
Yes.
Senator Lombardi.
Yes.
Senator Burke.
Yes.
Senator Dela Cruz.
Yes.
Senator Lombardo.
Yes.
Senator Picard.
Yes.
Senator Sosnowski.
Yes.
Whip Goodwin.
Yes.
Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
You have 9 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Matt, congratulations. This will be moving to the full Senate.
Thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda is Bill number 434 by Senator Goodwin and Leader McCaffrey, an act related to labor and labor relations, Healthy and Safe Families and Workplace Act. I believe it's Leader McCaffrey that's going to speak on this. I don't see Senator Goodwin. No. Leader McCaffrey. You're muted. While we're waiting for the leader, I will say that in talking to our committee attorney, she has found an idea that would make this bill flow a little more easily than it is presently. So after testimony, I suggest that Whip Goodwin and Lita McCaffrey talk to our committee attorney. There you go. You're on now, Michael.
Okay, beautiful. Let's see here. Actually, this is Senator Goodwin's bill, but I think you explained it fine, Frank, and if there's changes that have to be looked at, obviously there's something that we can look at.
Okay. It just appears that there's, in the section where it defines paid sick leave, on line 22, then it says except that paid sick leave. So it's kind of contradictory, and it should be in a different section. So
Okay,
we can move that.
Certainly something to look at.
Okay, thank you. Are there any committee members that have any questions? With that, speaking in favor, Michael Sabatoni from the Build Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Building Trades. Welcome back, Michael. Michael, welcome back. Yes? No? No? Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Michael?
Yes.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I was lost out here in cyberspace, I guess. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I call in support of Bill S. 434. This is something we've been working on for the last couple of years in light of the passage of the sick and safe leave time legislation passed a few years ago. And I know the bill had great intentions, but it did pose some difficulties for us in the unionized construction industry because of our uniqueness in how we operate. I submitted a letter that it pretty much explains the difficulty that we have being a multi-employer referral system that we operate in construction. Our members quite frequently work for multiple employers during the course of a year on multiple projects, and the administration of sick and safe time as written in the current statute is a tremendous headache for our industry. So this legislation would just basically, it would be enabling legislation that would allow collectively bargained multi-employer employees to be negotiated into their collective bargaining agreements. And it's an enabling legislation, meaning both parties have to agree so that this benefit could be provided into and from our health and welfare plans that we currently have. And another thing that's unique about our industry, we provide every benefit right now for the members that we represent in the building trades through our health and welfare plans, pension plans, annuity plans. This is the only benefit currently that is not provided by our multi-employer ERISA funds, which is again unique to our industry. So I know it's be glad to answer any questions, but this would be something that would allow for our members to also obtain sick and safe benefits via our health and welfare plans and alleviate a lot of the pressures the industry is under right now in trying to administer it in a multi-employer referral all system that we operate in the construction industry. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee? It appears there are none. So thank you for your testimony, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next, Gregory Mancini. Good afternoon and welcome back, Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did hear most of Mr. Sabatoni's testimony. I'm going to support this piece of legislation for actually the same reasons. Just want you to know that my organization, we have 4 different contractor associations, and this current law is difficult for this to track the sick leave time for the employees. They go from job to job and to contract to contract on a regular basis. It's difficult to manage, and it's difficult to get a benefit if you're an employee. So it's permissive, and we hope that the employers and the union employers and the employees can negotiate something if this legislation is passed. I do want to note that I helped draft this legislation. I worked with Senate staff for the last year and a half. I do want to make a comment on what was brought up by your staff on line 22. What we're trying to do there is further refine the definition of paid sick leave as it only relates to the union construction industry. If there are further edits to do that, that's fine too. But that is what that is attempting to do, is just further define what paid sick leave means in Code 23 under the North American Industry Classification System, who are employees working on the multi-employer collective bargaining agreements. So I'm more than happy to work with the staff to resolve the issue, though. That's it.
Thank you, Gregory. Our attorney will reach out to you. The definition is right. It just, it's a sentiment that it would, if it was added to a different section within the bill, it would be more clearer. And
that's fine. That makes sense to me. Sure, I'd love to work with your attorney.
okay. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee members? No? With that, a motion is ordered to hold.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Senator Lombardi, seconded by Senator Sosnowski. Any discussion? Being none, the clerk.
Chairman Chacon.
Yes.
Senator Lombardi.
Yes.
Senator Burke.
Yes.
Senator Dela Cruz.
Yes.
Senator Lombardo.
Yes.
Senator Sosnowski.
Yes.
Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
Motion's held, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I am going to take the next bill, which is 687 by Senator Lawson. She's going to testify in another committee in a few minutes. So, Senator Lawson, I can see you're still with us, you're alive. And so Bill number 687 by Senator Lawson is an act relating to labor and labor relations, municipal employees arbitration. Good afternoon, Senator.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. Appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. So this bill would establish binding arbitration as a method of resolution in municipal contract disputes. It's not the preferred way to bargain for municipal employees, unions, but it provides a resolution for both parties. It also establishes factors to be considered by an arbitrator panel that others will go in further detail with you. And there's also the ability to appeal to the Supreme Court.
Okay. Are there any questions from committee members? Senator Dela Cruz.
Did you say it was binding arbitration?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are there any other questions? Thank you. Next, we'll go to the phone list. Speaking first would be Brian Daniels from the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns. Good afternoon, Mr. Daniels. How are you?
Good. How are you, Mr. Chairman?
Very good.
First, I just want to appreciate the committee's forwarding of Matt Weldon's nomination. He's been a great person to work with, and he's a fantastic public servant. We will all be well served by that, so just wanted to thank you all for that. On this particular bill, I just wanted to share, I have written testimony. I'll summarize a few points. The League of Cities and Towns opposes any expansion of binding arbitration for municipal employees. As many members of the committee know, personnel is the largest component of municipal budgets. In some communities, it's as much as 75% or more. And so expanding binding arbitration for monetary issues takes more of the budget away from elected cities and towns and elected cities and town councils and into the hands of unelected arbitrators. As the committee may know, many cities and towns require councils to approve collective bargaining agreements, and that's primarily to make sure that the promises, that they can actually afford the promises that are in the contracts. An arbitration decision is not subject to that. And so we're concerned about the ability of an arbitrator to take a substantial portion of our community's budget and make it subject to arbitrator decisions. One of the practical implications we have about this bill too is also how the process would work. One of the criteria that an arbitrator would have to use is taking a look at pay scales in a city or town of comparable size. Now in Rhode Island, we have a lot of different types of communities. For example, West Warwick and South Kingstown both have about 30,000 people. But something that South Kingstown may be able to afford is not necessarily something that West Warwick could afford. And also, Rhode Island's per capita income is below that of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. So if an arbitrator panel looks to those states for wage rates, then that could also be unaffordable. So ultimately, if an arbitrator makes promises that the community can't afford, that will result in property tax increases. RIPEC put out a report today saying that 60% of all local revenues come from property taxes. We have the remainder being mostly school aid. We have the 9th highest property tax burden in the country, and we're trying to keep that under control. So we're very concerned about the decisions of arbitrators putting upward pressure on property taxes. So for those reasons, we oppose the bill and ask the committee's consideration for our views.
Thank you for your testimony. And any questions from the committee members? Brian, while we have you on the phone, instead of calling you back, we also have, I see you signed up for Bill 544, which is an act relating to labor and labor relations, municipal police arbitration, and 547, an act relating to labor and labor relations, firefighters arbitration. Would you like to speak on both of them so we can...
Yeah, I would be happy to do that and then get the committee on its way. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I do have written testimony. I'll just summarize a few points on these bills. These would expand contract continuation for municipal employees to police officers and firefighters. As I believe the committee is aware, the League has strongly opposed evergreen contract legislation in the past. We opposed the bill in 2017 that Governor Raimondo vetoed, and she did sign a similar bill in 2019. There are 19 communities now that are now challenging the constitutionality of that law, both as a violation of the contract clause because it alters the terms of existing contracts, and a violation of the home rule provision of the state constitution. Last December, Judge McGurl ruled against the state's motion to dismiss, so that case is ongoing. And for that reason, we believe that the state should not be expanding the evergreen contract because it is subject to litigation. And just want to point out, of the 19 communities that are plaintiffs in that lawsuit, they represent 60% of the state's population. So that's our primary argument. There are some other substantive arguments that we have made before. I won't belabor those. Those are in our written testimony. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Committee have any questions of Mr. Daniels on the two bills we just went over? There are none. Thank you for your testimony.
Great. Thank you so much, Chairman.
Okay. Next, we have Tony Capezza from the International Brotherhood of Police Officers. Good afternoon and welcome to Senate Labor, Mr. Capezza.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Very good. We're going to hit all three bills, 544, 547, and 687. So whichever one you'd like to start with, we're welcome.
Okay. One of them is actually a fire bill.
Correct.
But if you want, I can testify to that, but I do know that Paul Valletta submitted written testimony.
That is correct.
So, how about if we do 687 first, seeing that, that one went first?
Okay.
So, good afternoon, all honorable members of the committee. My name is Tony Capezza, and I'm the legislative director for NAGE IBPO. I have submitted this legislation on behalf of NAGE locals. Our NAGE locals represent civilian, non-police, municipal employees in several different communities. This bill is needed to ensure that our municipal employees are always negotiating on equal ground with their employees. Currently, they do not have binding arbitration for any matters that require the expenditures of money. This is where the problem arises. An arbitrator can award a salary increase to workers. However, the municipality does not have to abide by it. As you can see, the current procedure under the Municipal Arbitration Act heavily favors the employer and leaves no recourse for the employees when it comes to monetary items. To give you a couple of examples, we had one of our custodians locals who were negotiating a contract a few years ago, and they were basically threatened by the school committee that if they didn't accept what was being offered, they would privatize them. We had another community where during negotiations, the school committee or the town was actually looking to put the employees in a 401 and take them out of their pension plan. The local agreed to put all new hirees into a 401, and they were told they would keep their pension as is. The following contract, lo and behold, the town again said everybody now goes in the 401, and they had no recourse to fight it. Now, police have had binding arbitration for years, as you well know, and just to give you an example, with our police locals, which we represent 28 of the police departments in the state, between 2005 and 2020, we've gone to binding arbitration 11 times, which is not a whole lot of times. And those arbitrator awards were from 0% to 3%. Now, I heard Mr. Daniels' testimony. However, fortunate for the municipalities, as they are well aware, that one of the other criteria that arbitrators look at is the ability to pay. So therefore, if they were in a location, as he used, West Warwick, the arbitrator took into consideration the ability to pay for the town, they would probably get a very low pay raise, if none at all. To give you an example, one of those 0% pay increases that we got, actually there were two of them, was in Woonsocket for 0% because he took the ability to pay into consideration. So all our arbitrators that we use are AAA. As you know, they're extremely professional, and they look at everything, especially the ability to pay, before they award a pay raise to any of our members. So I don't believe that argument really holds water. By approving this, there would also be some closure in their contract. As you know, binding arbitration, once you reach impasse, either side, whether it be the municipality or it be the union, can file for arbitration. Once that award comes down, that's the end of it. Either side lives with the whatever the bargain, what it may be. And as far as ordinances, the way they may read, we all know that state statutes take precedence over an ordinance, so there would be no conflict between a state law and the ordinance. For those reasons, I would ask the committee to approve this legislation. And I thank you for your time and listening to it. On If it's okay with you, we can do 544 now, if you would like.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for being late. I just would like to respectfully request that the committee allow me to not only vote in support of the advice and consent of Matt Weldon as the Director of Department of Labor and Training, but also to second his nomination. So I would beg the indulgences of the committee, and if they could allow me to do that, I'd be most appreciative, and thank you for your time and attention.
With no objections, the vote was unanimous, and we will respect your wishes and place you as a second on the seconding of Mr. Weldon, and also adding you to a vote, and that would make 10 a unanimous vote. Thank you, President
Thank you, Mr.
Ruggiero.
Chairman and members of the committee.
Okay, Mr. Capezza, we can go back to 544 now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. 544 is a contract continuation clause. Now, I heard Mr. Daniels testify in reference to the contract continue clause that is in the court system right now. Fortunately, ours is a little different because we do have binding arbitration. Our contract continuation that we're asking for would only take place for that period that you're already in the process between the time that you reach impasse in negotiations until you then receive an arbitrator's award. Now, this was never a problem in the past. The Policemen's Arbitration Act was passed in 1963, and the reason it was passed was to ensure that police services were not interrupted. At the time, the General Assembly realized you couldn't have police or firemen going on strike. So they passed both the Policemen's Arbitration Act and the Firemen's Arbitration Act, which gave both organizations binding arbitration in lieu of the right to strike. Now, as you know, most contracts expire on June 30th, and many times contract negotiations go beyond June 30th, which is the expiration of the contract. Because of some recent court rulings in the past, some labor attorneys that represent municipalities have interpreted that to mean that your contract ends on June 30th and the municipalities would be free to do whatever they wanted to with the contract. So what this bill would do would just give you that protection between the expiration of the contract, if you go beyond it, and until you completed the arbitration procedure. And that's about it on that statute. I'd be glad to answer questions on either bill. And I, again, like to thank the committee for the time they took to listen to this bill also.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for the committee? Being none, thank you for your testimony, Mr. Capezza. On Bill 547, we do have a letter from the Rhode Island State Firefighters Association elaborating why they're in favor of the bill, and signed by Mr. Valletta, and also from Keith A. Kelsey, Secretary. So with that, let's start with the first bill that we heard, which would be Senate Bill 687. Is there a motion to hold?
So moved.
Senator Sosnowski made a motion to hold, seconded by Senator Lombardo. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, Mr. Clerk?
Chairman Chacon?
Yes.
Senator Lombardi,
Yes.
Senator Burke,
Yes.
Senator Dela Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Lombardo,
Yes.
Senator Sosnowski,
Yes.
Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
Motion's held, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And the next two bills would be, that we heard, was 544 by myself and 547. Is there a motion on those two bills? Senator Burke makes a motion to hold, seconded by Senators Sosnowski and Lombardi and Leader McCaffrey. Any discussion? Being none, our new clerk is going to go.
Chairman Chacon,
Yes.
Senator Lombardi,
Yes.
Senator Burke,
Yes.
Senator De La Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Lombardo,
Yes.
Senator Sosnowski,
Yes.
and Leader McCaffrey. Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
Motion's held.
Thank you. That concludes the agenda for this evening. There's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Senator Lombardo, seconded by Senator Sosnowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Aye.
Thank you for your participation this evening.